This presentation is about dealing with the financial stress from the coronavirus. My name is Dr. Jonathan Sikorsky, and I'm a licensed psychologist at Tria Orthopedics in Bloomington, Minnesota. As you know, the coronavirus and the pandemic hasn't only just impacted our physical well-being, it's impacted our mental health and our financial well-being as well. And if you are a consumer of the media, you've been inundated with different stories about how the coronavirus is adversely impacting the job market, economy, people's earning power, et cetera, et cetera. And also, it's impacting medicine. We're kind of at a point where there is a new pandemic of furloughs and layoffs, delays in procedures because of the pause put on elective and outpatient procedures. And this has caused a lot of people in the medical community and global market a lot of distress and has adversely impacted their mental health. Ultimately, the news of all of this is that it just sucks, and it is okay. That is the technical psychological term. Sometimes things just suck. Going through a financial crisis on top of a global pandemic is a junky situation, and it hurts. It hits people in their mental health. It hits them in the pocketbook, and that can be a lethal combination. And it is okay during this time to just acknowledge that, this is a really junky situation, and I don't enjoy it. So the reason why the coronavirus has impacted our mental health so much is partially because of how it impacts our hierarchy of needs. This is from Maslow. If you've taken any general psychology course, you know this kind of triangle. But it's not quite right. I need to add the John effect here. That is better. At the base is Wi-Fi, of course. If we've been at home, we need the internet. But in seriousness, psychological well-being and safety are, foundational things about how we do to live an enriched life. And right now, we have threats to our physiological safety with the virus, and also just our safety for our security of our body and of our employment. When we're told that, hey, you're going to get a 20 to 30, maybe 40% cut to your salary, or you're going to be reassigned, your hours are going to be shortened, it impacts our whole psychological well-being. And people have taken this concept and have applied it to a medical field, and that's right here. Looking at health professional well-being, and you'll see, at that level 1 basics are things like, being hydrated, having enough sleep, access to bathrooms, but you could throw on here access to, medical safety equipment. Level 2 safety, do I feel physically safe at work? Am I being compensated, or is my job secure? My future predictable? Right now, no, it isn't. So a lot of people, again, is just causing this high level of distress for our providers and our peers. So the psychological impacts are pretty concerning. Financial instability directly impacts our own mental health. So as things become more financially insecure, we tend to see an increase in depression, anxiety, and what we call death by despair or suicide, because people feel like their life is just kind of spiraling out of control. And the unfortunate thing is that these effects can be long-lasting, sometimes several years after the financial crisis is over. It's also troubling because there's an uneven impact across the country and even within institutions. So layoffs, furloughs, and reassignments and salary adjustments may disproportionately impact certain specialties within the healthcare system. It may impact different people, like in scheduling desks and our frontline staff, disproportionately than it does with other advanced practice providers. And that can lead to a lot of resentment in the people who are furloughed or laid off or their salaries adjusted. It can also lead to guilt to people who, salaries weren't adjusted, and they have this paradoxical, I'm happy, but I feel guilty at the same time. And that can, over time, adversely impact just the culture of the work environment. Something to be kind of watching out for. Also, people tend to feel a loss of purpose. So a career, especially in medicine, is often a calling. If you think of the Hippocratic Oath, Number one is do no harm, and people in healthcare tend to have a high level of what we call agency, which is just kind of that drive to make a difference, to apply themselves, reduce the suffering of others. And that's really hard when you're, furloughed or laid off, or kind of stuck, remodeling a bathroom instead of seeing patients. So a lot of people feel just adrift, kind of like a ship without a rudder right now. And that is also, frustrating. But there are some strategies that you can do with dealing with a financial crisis. Number one, I'd encourage everyone to do this, is just to start an emergency budget. So examine the importance of different things. Chances are you're subscribed to things that you're not even aware of. If you have Amazon Prime Video, Netflix, HBO, Hulu, and Disney Plus, which of those can you pare down? Looking at your takeout or grocery stores, maybe is not now the time to shop at Whole Foods. Hit up Aldi or something like that as well. Different strategies for saving a few dollars. Also gives you a sense, again, of that agency, like you're actively doing something. You can try to rebalance debts and other bills. So calling your mortgage company or landlord, you can see, there are a lot of institutions and companies that are doing deferred payments or modifying the bills to pay what you can at this time. You can negotiate with credit card companies for a lower interest rate, and file for unemployment, which is a call early and often. I have talked with or spoken with some patients who have had to call 47 times in a row to get through, which is its own exercise in futility, but being able to stick with it, kind of persevere to get through. One of the biggest things is reaching out to other people right now. People overall tend to be horrible mind readers. So if we perceive that someone's doing okay, oftentimes people are like, well, they seemed fine, and they don't know to reach out. One benefit of being furloughed, if there are any, is that you maintain access to your employee assistance programs and health insurance. This means that you do have the availability to seek out, mental health, visiting psychiatry, things like that might help get over the, corona depression bump. Let others know how you're doing. Like I said, people are horrible mind readers, so let people know, like, hey, I'm really struggling right now. That takes a little bit of humility, but you'll tend to find that if you reach out, people reach back. Check in on coworkers who are adversely affected by the financial crisis. So if a lot of people in your department were impacted, ignoring it and pretending like it didn't happen, or being like, I don't want to check in on them because it might make them feel awkward, let them know that you're feeling for them, you're thinking about them, ask them if you can help. It goes a long way to kind of help repair some of the damages to the culture when we feel like other people are, sympathetic to our situations. And the biggest thing, if you are at home, is focus on what you can control. We cannot control the virus. We can't control decisions that the federal or state government make on what procedures or businesses can open. But we do have some level of psychological agency. One big thing for just about anyone, if you are stuck at home, is having a plan to do at least one thing each day. Something that gets you out of bed, gets you showered, and out the door a little bit. Volunteering is a great way to lift your own psychological well-being and to help others. Examples of this could be delivering groceries to vulnerable populations. A lot of the Minnesota people making masks for frontline workers. Or just practice Earth Day every day. Pick up trash while you're walking outside. Or maybe record psychology videos in your walk-in closet at home. Whatever, random examples. Also, just take time to grieve. Pretending like this crisis isn't happening is not a great strategy for dealing with the outcome. But grief, as this quote says, is like an ocean. It comes in waves, ebbing and flowing. Sometimes the water is calm, and sometimes it is overwhelming. All we can do is learn to swim. So grief will come over you at times. It is okay to feel like you're in the throes of something big and emotional or scary. But know that no storm lasts forever, and there are different strategies that you can use, and I'll actually demonstrate here to just deal with that psychological angst of kind of weathering the storm. We'll show that video now. So one activity I use a lot with patients is called anchoring, and it's a kind of mindfulness activity that I like to use with patients when we're dealing with something that's pretty emotional, maybe ethereal, but something that just gets you kind of stuck in your head when you want to become a little more grounded and more aware of your situation, and just being able to get kind of out of that bully brain cycle of dealing with those negative emotions, or not even being able to explain what you're feeling, just dealing with kind of that ennui of what's happening with the world, the economy, coronavirus, your job, anything like that. And what we do with the anchoring exercise is, I want you to sit in your chair, kind of sit forward and really push, your feet down into the ground and feel kind of yourself anchoring there. And then while you do that, I want you to put your fingers and hands together kind of like this and push. If you've seen The Matrix, like Morpheus, back in the day, but push your fingers together so you feel that pressure while kind of lifting your elbows and your shoulders. And take a breath in and just kind of hold that tension and breathe out and release. And while you're breathing out, just acknowledge to yourself, like, there's something painful here that's happening. There's something that's uncomfortable. And if that emotion and that storm is still there, anchor again, push into the ground, push your hands together, raise those shoulders, breathe and let go. And what you'll notice is that, even though there is pain or discomfort within the body, there's also a body surrounding it. There are feelings. We can feel that pressure here. There's a world kind of outside of our head. And I would encourage patients to continue to anchor, for a couple minutes, or as long as those feelings are still present, and see if you can kind of get out of your head again and just kind of back into your life and feeling more balanced, centered, kind of with a renewed sense of just being present where you are. So if you are someone who has been adversely impacted directly by the coronavirus or the financial crisis, I always like to end on when to seek out additional supports. So if you're finding that you're going like 2 weeks or more feeling depressed or hopeless, it's a great time to reach out to EAP or let a colleague know how you're doing. If you feel like your life is just out of control, if this is just the last straw and it's like, I don't know if I'll have any sanity at the end of this, reach out. Trouble concentrating or making decisions, if applying for unemployment or responding to emails all of a sudden becomes a laborious task, that can be a sign of decision fatigue. If you have intense fears or difficulty getting along with others, everyone right now has a heightened sense of irritability, and being in a lockdown kind of situation or stay-at-home order with your family is great for a couple days, but after a couple weeks, little nuances and quirks that people have become really irritating, and that is okay, but allow people to have some space and grace. Avoiding work or school activities. You're seeing this a lot with high schoolers. I'm seeing this with my own kindergartner, just trying to avoid that school piece because they miss school, and doing the homework makes them think of their friends, and it's hard, and that's a big one. Or the inability to abstain from destructive behavior, drinking, binging, things like that would be really good, or not really good. A good time to get to a mental health professional or psychiatrist. So all that said, we're all in this kind of emotional storm together. No one is immune, but I hope you can take 1 or 2 things from this presentation, and ultimately, I hope you can be well.